Pete, we're live streaming when you're ready.
Okay, I'd like to call the regular meeting number 22, 2021 of the town board to order. The clerk, I'd ask the clerk to read the roll call.
Councilman Madigan,
Here.
Councilwoman Bainey,
Here.
Councilman Marston,
Here.
Councilman Degani,
Here.
Supervisor Witt.
Excused. Tonight's invocation will be led by Cross River Ministries. Rev. Thomas Dunmeyer. Please stand.
I'd like to read a scripture out of Romans chapter 13, verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that are ordained are of God. This is we come before you now, Father God, in the name of our Savior Jesus Christ. And Lord, we thank you for this gathering of the town board of Grand Island, Lord God. And I pray for your spirit to be manifested here this evening, Lord, that you would guide them in what they are going to do, what they're going to plan. And we thank you, Lord God, for them, that your guidance is needed, your protection is needed, that your presence will be manifested here, Lord God. And Father, I just want to thank you, Lord God, for the courage of the Grand Island to be put up a nativity set. It just makes me happy when I see that. And I thank you, Lord, that across the street, there's the Glopper Memorial. So we just see the concern that the town of Grand Island, through the board, through the supervisors, through all the leaders, Lord God, manifest themselves strong to the community, obviously through Grand Island residents, but people that come through, Lord God. So through their efforts to present this, through the military, through our heroes, and of course, through that nativity set, Lord God, I just pray that you would bless them today and in this holiday season, Lord God. So I just give you glory and honor and thank you for the opportunity to share your word and to ask for your blessing here this evening. We thank you now, Father, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Councilman Madigan.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next segment here is public comments for agenda items only. And this does not include the public hearing, which includes the tree ordinance. So anything that's on the agenda minus the tree ordinance that you'd like to speak of, please come forth now.
Hi, thank you very much for the opportunity to share my opinion tonight. This is in reference to item 9. I am excited later this month to see Hamilton at Shays. Earlier today, I was checking their website and saw that they require proof of vaccination and the use of masks. Everyone might not agree with their actions, but I respect them for striving to keep their patrons safe. Then I read the resolution coming from this board tonight, going on record opposing all current measures available to help fight the spread of COVID in our treasured community. I find it unfathomable that our elected board would show less regard for the citizens of this island than a business for its patrons. I would have had more respect for this town board if instead of complaining that Erie County and New York State do not have long-term management plans, this board had offered solutions instead of opposing any and all measures to keep our residents and visitors safe. I go on record opposing your resolution.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I was supposed to ask your name and address.
Dr. Martha Ludwig, West River, Grand Island.
Thank you.
Good evening, Peter Ash, 1651 Bronson Road. I'm here to talk about agenda item number 9. To tell you that we are opposed, we're members of the American Patriots Group, opposing stringent regulations on all of us. If the shots and the masks were doing any real good, we wouldn't have the problem that they're presenting us with right now. We're against mandates that control us more and more. It's like we're almost headed toward Nazi Germany and the way we're being controlled. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dean Maracus, East River Road, Grand Island. If you guys remember back to March of 2020, the masks, the social distancing, that was only supposed to last 2 or 3 weeks so we could flatten the curve. Then they came out with the vaccine, and once 70% of all the people either had COVID or had the vaccine, then we got herd immunity and we didn't have to worry about this anymore because there wouldn't be any hosts to go around. I said at the end of March of 2020 that this was all a big experiment. Number one, can the population be controlled through fear? Absolutely they can. Look what they've done to us. Number two, it was a great experiment in socialism, because the definition of socialism is that the government controls the means of production. So the government was telling who could be open, who could be closed, how many people they could have working, and what the output was. And that has also miserably failed, because look at our economy. Last week, I was visiting my mother in the DC area. That's where I'm originally from. She was like, I don't know if I should hug you or kiss you because you're not vaccinated. I said, Mom, isn't a vaccination supposed to protect you from people like me? Now she's 90 years old and she still has her faculties and she's really smart. And she goes, you know what, you're right. And she hugged me and kissed me. I was last week, I was in West Virginia. I was in Ocean City, Maryland. I was in the DC area. Every place is wide open except for the DC area. Now, here's another little story that you guys are going to like, especially the people that know me well. In 1992, those of you that remember, 40 or 50 women walked across the Peace Bridge topless. So in 1992, there was a law enacted in New York State that women could go topless, and it's been amended a couple of times. They could go to the beach and several other places. So I guess now, under polling cars' realm and Hochul's realm, they can go topless as long as they're wearing a mask. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carol Ham, 1015 Ransom Road. I too am supporting the resolution against the COVID mandates. I feel like I agree with Dean, they're about control and not about true science. Even our national health leaders, I'm going to put it in air quotes here, it finally admitted that it's not a vaccination, but it's an injection to mitigate, and that the statistics are that people that are vaccinated and unvaccinated are just as likely to spread COVID. They keep changing things. And it's still an EUA. It's not an approved vaccination, and call it that. Then the other thing is the VAERS database from CDC, worldwide, many adverse events, but the media squashes that. There are many other reliable remedies out there, but those too are squashed. I know of a lady that she actually had a fight in the hospital. This is local. They wanted to give her remdesivir and they were really arguing with her. She got her daughter to help her get ivermectin. She got an older lady and she got herself home. Most masks are useless. They are designed for bacteria, not that tiny virus. My husband was at Erie County Medical Center for many years. N95 was actually designed for tuberculosis. It's also a bacteria. So they're not worth that. Masking our children in school, I feel it's very harmful for their development. Verbal cues, they're talking about that, even though like the littlest ones, especially. My nephew's great nephew's 2 years old, and he might have to start wearing them at daycare. And now there's a law that they're trying to push in New York State to make all children in all schools mandatory vaccination. There's been cases where they accidentally gave the adult dose to some of these children. So I feel we have to fight back now or it's only going to get worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Rose Budman, Whitehaven Road. Listening to everyone talk, there are a lot of pros and cons. When I was young, going back further than the 90s, when polio, smallpox, all these diseases were, wrapping around the earth. I had a cousin who was 4 years older than me, had polio. Her mother had polio. Then we got our vaccinations. Everybody lined up in school. They gave you your shots, and polio and smallpox were eradicated. This is an airborne disease, and it is not a huge inconvenience to put a mask on, at least when you're out in public. It has to form some sort of a barrier. There's no proof that it doesn't help. The numbers went way down when the vaccinations were into effect. And then when a majority, and it became not a health issue, it became a political issue. Can't be a political issue. It has to be a health issue. It's a public health issue. We need to protect ourselves the best we can. And I think that wearing the masks is a very small price to pay in order to go out among other people who have taken the time to get their vaccination, wear their mask, and have these people not spread it. Our numbers are way up in Erie County. And it's mostly, if not almost completely, unvaccinated people who are getting COVID now. So I don't support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm on Zoom and would like to speak.
I would like to speak. from
Yeah, we
Zoom.
know.
We've got you. We're getting there. Hang
Yep.
on.
We start.
Anybody else in the
So
room that would
online?
like to speak?
Anyone else online?
Just check.
Just-
Anyone else in here?
Anyone else here?
As noted in
We've
the,
got somebody with.
Hold on. That's what your hand up.
as noted in Tom's comments in the chat, we always start with those in the room and then we do move on to those that are online. So no
And if-
one online is being neglected. Tom has a queue going. We're just
Yeah.
trying to have the order.
If there's anybody else who hasn't already messaged us, let us know that you want to speak online. If you could do so, it helps us be a little more efficient. Thank you.
Hi.
Yep, Roger too.
I'll be real brief. I worked in the area of occupational health for 30 years. And one of the main ways that we eradicated a lot of the diseases was through the wearing of masks. Now, a lot of those were dust diseases, admittedly not contagious diseases. But go into any hospital and watch any operation that goes on there, and you're going to see doctors with masks. You're going to see nurses with masks. That's a routine protection. It's a personal protection. And I would argue that we should continue to observe mask mandates when the rates start going up, because they do come down once we take those control measures. I agree with Rose. The vaccination is the key here. We do know they work. Like Rose, I lined up as a school child and got my polio shot. It was one of the most wonderful things that we could do. It was, we were greatly relieved because polio was a real scourge. And of course, diphtheria, smallpox, all of those things we've used vaccines. Are they perfect? We don't know. We still have a lot of unknowns, and Supervisor Whitney has noted that there's some unknowns. But if I were a betting person, I would say that we should continue to use good science, and we should use the good technologies we have, and we should use vaccines. And instead of discouraging people from wearing masks, we should encourage everybody on the town of Grand Island to get vaccinated. It seems to me to be the sound public health measures that we should be using. So, Rose, I agree with you on this. And Rose and I were very involved in Love Canal many years ago. So we know a lot about public health.
Thank you, Roger. Anyone else in?
When do we stop wearing masks? I mean, I'm vaccinated. I got the booster. I'm all for vaccines, but this COVID is going to be with us forever. It's going to be like the flu. It's not going to be a disastrous for most of the population. There's always going to be that small subsector who are going to be at high risk. But if we wait till we eliminate it totally, we'll be wearing masks for the rest of our lives. The other thing, those percentages they give you on the infection rate are bogus numbers because their denominator is useless. This is not a random sample that they took. The only people that go get tested are people who think they're sick. So you'd expect to have high percentages. The raw number is the important number. They have been going up. And the hospitals are, most of the people there are unvaccinated.
I'd like to speak
They
to
wanna
that.
roll-
I don't think that there are any town board members.
Can you,
If they want to roll the dice, it's their business. But
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, we got to stop wearing masks. Or the people have to come up with some measure as to what they consider safe. And they don't have one. It's, it changes day to day. Thank you.
To those
you.
who are online, to interject, we do have a system where those in the room get to comment first, and then in the orderly fashion, Councilman Marston will allow comments from those who join us via Zoom. Tom DeGotti has a queue for that, which he'll work through, but there is no back and forth between people commenting in person or not. You have your time to speak, which we give to everyone. But we
Yes.
just can't have people interjecting. Please stay muted until the time for you.
any other comments on public agenda,
There's someone here.
on the agenda?
Yes.
Come on.
her.
Again, please stay muted. Even background noise does come in through our system.
Hi. So I just had a couple of things to say.
Name, please.
I'm sorry, my name is Kathy Massey,
Yes.
and I am an Islander. And I had just a couple of things to say. The thing that I have a hard time with this is the idea of someone else telling us and as a society what we can do and mandating things coming in from outside. I love the idea of encouraging people, if the science makes sense, encouraging people to wear masks, encouraging people to vaccinate. But the idea of someone in the government telling people that they have to do that, which affects businesses, affects everyone's personal lives, affects people emotionally. doesn't make sense to me. And I think we lose our liberties bit by bit, just one step at a time, and we don't know it when it's happening. And I hate that we're going down this road. The other thing is I would disagree with a couple of other people here. I don't know, I just recovered from a pretty darn good case of COVID. I'm fully vaccinated. Masks didn't help me. I wear masks a lot. It didn't help me at all. But that's just an anecdotal thing. That's one person.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Just want to say that Rochelle Walensky, who is the head of the CDC, recently made comments about this becoming endemic, not a pandemic.
Hmm.
So we realize it's been around, it's going to be here for a long time. Some of you guys are older than I am. I've never worn a mask in my life for a cold or flu, and I don't think there's any need to. I want to read a quote from Dr. McCullough online. It says, not a single randomized controlled trial with verified outcome has been able to detect a statistically significant advantage of wearing a mask versus not wearing a mask when it comes to preventing infectious viral illness. And I want to disagree also with statements made about how it's a health issue and not a political issue. It absolutely is a political issue when it's talking about civil liberties, about freedoms, about individual rights. And our country was founded on individual rights, not on collectivism. If you want to wear a mask, if you want to get vaccinated, go ahead and do it. But don't tell anyone else they have to do it. That's not the American way.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room with comments?
If you read
All right.
them in order, I'll pin them.
Celia Spicone, you're first on our list. If you'd like to speak, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear council members and town supervisors, Celia Spicone, West River Road, Grand Island. I just returned from a cross-country flight where I was required to wear a mask for over 8 hours, including airport time. It wasn't that bad. I was willing to do so, even though I'm fully vaccinated with a booster, because I know the mask has two purposes. Yes, it protects me from COVID-19 infection, not extremely well, but the biggest issue, it's most effective in preventing me from spreading the illness to others. In the 2 to 3 days before showing symptoms, you are most infectious and likely to unwittingly spread the disease to others. Elderly, immunocompromised, young children, disabled. That is the importance of the mask. It's not about personal liberty. It's about community. I strongly urge you to vote against the resolution to oppose Erie County Department of Health and New York State Department of Health emergency measures to fight COVID. I urge you to think this out for the following reasons. Number one, vaccination and wearing masks will help stop the spread and reduce the number of even more deadly variants. The more COVID we have, the more likely a variant will pop up. Number two, this is good for business. There may be a few who have gone to Niagara County to shop, although I doubt it, to avoid a mask, but many more will stay home if they feel Grand Island is not a safe community. Masks help us get back to normal. Number three, think about the stress this puts on our healthcare workers. When we show up at the hospital for treatment, the nurses and physicians are wearing more restrictive masks for 8 to 12-hour shifts every day. And we dare to take our mask, our simple cotton mask off in public for personal liberty? No, not really. It's selfishness. I don't think there is a single physician or healthcare professional on the council who should dare to disagree with the recommendations of the New York State Department of Health and the Erie County Department of Health, which are well-founded. Please vote against resolution number 9. Respectfully, Dr. Spicone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Steve.
Dr. Mr. Pratt, floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Dr. David Pratt. I'm a psychologist and resident on West River Road, Grand Island. I would like to read the following regarding agenda item number 9. We, the members of the Grand Island Democratic Committee, wish to express our concern regarding Grand Island Town Board resolution to defy the Erie County mask mandate. We are appalled that Grand Island Town Board is prioritizing individual freedom over the safety and health of their constituents on Grand Island. Is it not the primary duty of an elected official to maintain the safety and well-being of their constituents? According to the Grand Island Town Board, protecting individual freedoms and economic gain are a greater priority than mitigating a deadly pandemic and saving lives. Individual freedoms should not supersede public safety. An individual does not have the right to ignore scientifically established mitigation procedures and government guidelines and risk the health and safety of others. Is the Grand Island Town Board not aware that Grand Island has the 4th highest number of total new cases per 100,000 persons in the past 7 days in Erie County, including 25 county towns and Buffalo City districts, according to Erie County Department of Health statistics, the week ending 11/27/21? Is the Grand Island Town Board not aware of the research that has demonstrated the efficacy of masks in mitigating COVID-19? Per the Center for Disease Control, the use of cloth masks to control the spread of SARS-CoV-2, quote, experimental and epidemiological data support community masking to reduce the spread of SARS-CoV-2, end quote. We are also concerned that the Grand Island Town Board's decision to defy Erie County Executive's mask mandate could jeopardize the recently announced test to stay collaboration between the Erie County Department of Health in the Grand Island School District. Why would the Erie County Health Department want to partner with Grand Island School District while the town board acts in defiance of the county's mitigation efforts? Is the Grand Island Town Board willing to risk the termination of Erie County funds to conduct the test to stay trial and continue to save our children, have our children quarantined and prevented from attending school because the Grand Island Town Board is opposed to county mitigation efforts? We are also concerned that the town board's unwillingness to support a countywide mask mandate could paradoxically hurt the Grand Island economy more than a mask mandate would. Is the town board not aware that many Grand Islanders, as well as off-islanders, are likely to avoid Grand Island businesses because they fear COVID-19 exposure, given the high rate of COVID-19 on the island and a relaxed mitigation policy? Unfortunately, it is the misguided leadership of political leaders, such as the Grand Island Town Board, whose misinformed judgments have unnecessarily prolonged the pandemic and subsequently exacerbated the economic and emotional hardship they profess to curtail. We, the Grand Island Democratic Committee, call for the Grand Island Town Board to reject this resolution and commit to working in concert with Erie County and the scientific community to mitigate this horrific pandemic. Our failure to work together with our healthcare leaders will only prolong our physical, mental, and economic suffering. Thank you for this opportunity to share this perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Gerber or Dave Riley, you guys are up next, so whichever order you prefer.
We're actually speaking in the public hearing.
Oh, I thought Nicole said on both. Okay, then
No,
Kristen
just
Cassia.
public hearing.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am also speaking against the passage of resolution number 9. Erie County is currently setting records, not in a good way, for COVID-19. We are at a 10.4% positive testing rate, and just yesterday, 664 people tested positive for COVID. Hand washing is not 100%, but it helps. Social distancing is not 100%, but it helps. Vaccinations are not 100%, but they help. Masks are not a 100% solution either, but they help. They all help. These are the tools that we have right now to keep ourselves and our families, others safe. And these are the tools that we should use. It is the responsible thing to do. This is a novel virus, so it is adapting, and medical professionals and people are adapting as it happens. People keep asking, when does it stop? When it's safe. It is not now safe. For the town board to pass this resolution, I find it to be reckless and irresponsible, and certainly not in the best interest of the health, welfare, and safety of this town. The resolution itself contains things I absolutely don't agree with. It speaks of the county not having a plan for addressing hospital capacity and procedures. It seems perverse logic that to say that when the numbers could be brought down if people were vaccinating and wearing their masks. So to blame hospitals and our elected officials who for the past year and a half have been acting to try and keep people safe is rather disrespectful. Hospitals are understaffed. There aren't enough beds, but it's because people are not vaccinating and wearing masks. So the logic there doesn't make sense. I also want to say that you're going to hear tonight from the town board saying that they're hearing from people that are against the mask mandate. Well, sure,
Why would you hear from the people who support it? You have not heard, the town board has not heard from the majority of Grand Islanders. What I am asking is that the town board not vote on this tonight. The supervisor is not here. This resolution was amended on the fly not an hour ago in the workshop. It conflicts with a Bills Monday night football game. Something that is this important and impacts people's lives should be opened up for a formal public hearing. Most people did not know tonight would be their only opportunity to speak on this resolution. I feel it will be irresponsible for the board to vote on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Graff.
Thank you. Amy Graff, Whitehaven Road. When I was thinking about what I wanted to say, two things came to mind, two sayings. One, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different outcome. We have been doing the same thing for almost 2 years, and we are in a worse situation, if not the same situation, a worse situation than we were a year ago. And that's with mask mandates, that's with quarantines, that's with businesses being shut down, that's with all kinds of controls. The second one is what we allow continues. This is not about wearing a mask. This is about standing up for our freedoms and saying enough is enough. If this truly was about health, they would have allowed alternative treatments instead of restricting them. This is about control. And Poland Cars already has a 4-phase process in place. The next step, if the numbers keep going up, is that vaccines will be required in all businesses. You look downstate in New York City with what the mayor is doing there, that every business and private business, 184,000 businesses will be requiring vaccinations. That is about control. So I urge the board to pass this. If you want to wear a mask, if you want to get vaccinated, great, do so. There is no scientific proof that the masks work. It does not, our children, to force things on children where they are the least vulnerable population, that doesn't make sense. And for folks that are saying that it's the unvaccinated, please refer to the CDC website. In May, they stopped reporting the number of positive vaccinated cases because they had an alternative plan. They only report them if they are hospitalized or die from the virus. So again, it's about control. It goes above and beyond the mask. And I am sure that the county executive will be implementing phases 2, 3, and 4 down the road. This is about personal freedom and the right to choose. There are reasons why people get vaccinated and there are reasons why people don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Rahill.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption before. Like I said, it was hard to keep up with the misinformation. So I think, people are asking, when do we stop wearing masks? And believe me, that is something that I ask myself every day. I came on late because I was seeing patients all day. I'm trying to take care of my 2 young kids. I am tired. I am burnt out. My colleagues are leaving medicine in droves because we are tired of dealing with this crap. So believe me, I ask myself the same question every day. The answer to that is I don't think we will be wearing masks forever. Okay, pandemics don't last forever. That's not how biology works. But I'm going to wear a mask and my family's going to wear a mask for as long as it takes for this to get under better control. And I really don't think that it should last forever, but the virus will dictate what we need to do. And it's entirely based upon our actions as a community and as a country and as a world. Masks do work. I put in the chat for anyone who's interested, a bunch of studies posted by the CDC that support mask wearing. And someone said, I think Ms. Graff said earlier, that, we've been doing the same thing for 2 years and it's like insanity to keep doing the same thing. Well, we haven't been doing the same thing. Mask wearing rates dropped precipitously in our town over the last few months. at the same time as we've been starting to fight the Delta variant and Omicron is on its heels. So we haven't been doing the same thing. And that has happened at the same time as our 1 and 2 dose vaccines have had demonstrated of waning immunity after 6 months, 2 to 6 months. So it's not just doing the same thing over and over again, but believe me, it feels that way. I think we're seeing more and more breakthrough infections with vaccinated people for 2 reasons. It's waning immunity, which believe me, I am upset about too. I went and got my booster. My husband did too, my family did too. And I do believe that it provides me some added protection, but it's not a bulletproof vest. The way to protect our town and each other from this virus is to use layers of mitigating strategies that we've all heard about. But one single protection strategy is insufficient. So, it's not, it's still worthwhile to get vaccinated. In terms of masks, I agree with you. I think, a cloth mask do provide some protection, and it certainly acts as a source protection. So it prevents you from spreading your germs to others. But this virus is airborne. And, my family and I, we wear N95s and KN95s. But, when people say, well, if you're worried, wear a mask, don't tell me what to do. That clearly demonstrates that you don't understand how viruses are transmitted among people. When you wear a mask, it keeps your germs to yourself. And so if you choose to not wear a mask, and my kid wearing a cloth mask in school happens to be around you or your family member that doesn't wear a mask, you're putting us in danger. And so you just, choosing your own choices and putting individual liberty over everything else has ramifications on the rest of Grand Island and the rest of Grand Islanders. So it's not just about you. It's completely ignorant to think that it's just about you. It means you don't understand how this works. So, I don't like mandates. I really don't. But encouraging people to do the right thing clearly has not worked. I think the government tells us all the time what to do, and within reason, right? We wear seatbelts. We follow the speed limit. We don't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. We do things to protect each other all the time that, might infringe upon our individual liberties a little bit, but they're worthwhile. Is
Melissa,
wearing
can I-
a cloth mask really that much of an inconvenience for you? I mean, it's,
Melissa, can I have you kind of wrap it up here for us? Let the rest of them speak, please.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the final thought I'll say is that, these layers of mitigating strategies actually help to keep our businesses open. They actually encourage more people to visit island businesses. Just like in schools, they're a means to keep our schools open. And same thing with businesses. I, for one, am not going to feel as comfortable going to island businesses without other people wearing masks. So I encourage you to please vote against this resolution.
Thank you.
Jen?
That me, Tom?
Yep.
Not, did you change your name from
yeah,
Jen to Jennifer?
Jen, I have you pinned.
Yes, I'm on myself.
Then it's all you.
Wait, hold on. We've got 2.
I'm Jen.
Okay.
Which Jen do you want first?
There was, whoever was just Jen was next on my list.
Oh.
So Jen P, I'll add you to the bottom if you're.
So this
Sorry.
is just Jen. You're on the screen. You're set.
Yeah, just Jen. My name is Jen Merica. I'm at 45 Wyndham on Grand Island, and I'm a social worker. I have a psychology degree, and I have a background in child development. And I am here to support Resolution 9. I think that at this point, nearly 2 years, the masking has become too much. It was supposed to be a temporary fix to long-term solutions. And they have many impacts to our kids, their social development, their emotional development, their language and speech development. And these kids are having anxiety putting masks on, and they're also having anxiety taking them off because they are fearing this COVID. And they are being conditioned to wear these masks because they have this fear inside of them about these masks. Anyways, we're saying that you have the highest cases, yet we have the highest vaccination rate, about 83%. So that's just saying that the vaccinated are getting COVID just as much as the unvaccinated. So to point fingers at unvaccinated individuals is discriminatory. And that is what's happening in Grand Island and throughout Erie County and throughout the state. There's discrimination. This test to stay program is also discriminatory and has nothing to do with science. We're testing our kids. They can go to school daily if it's negative, but they can't go to their sports or activities. If they're negative and healthy, why can't they attend their sports or activities? But they can go to their school daily. That's not science. That is just control. And as far as the healthcare workers, I give them so much credit for all the work that they're doing. I really, truly do. But why are we firing healthcare workers? 160 healthcare workers were fired. They're not just walking out because they can't take it. They're being fired for the medical choices that they are taking. But yet we're bringing in National Guard who are not required to vaccinate. So I don't understand. Nearly, I think it's like 90,000 healthcare workers were impacted by this New York State mandate. And if masks work, then they pose no more risk to their patients than a vaccinated person. And if they're being tested weekly, we are knowing if they're, infected or not. So how do they pose a risk to their patients? And they were also having quarantine rules, unlike the vaccinated who can also spread it. So tell me, how is this about our health and about our to save other people? Of course, I want to help people. I do many mitigation strategies, like to keep myself healthy and my family healthy. If I'm healthy, that means everyone else in my community healthy. I'm not going to go out and spread any illness, the flu, RSV, whatever it is. I'm not going to go out there knowing that I have some kind of illness to spread to other people. We have to have responsibility. What we really need to do is come up with long-term solutions, because we are not, the objective to stop the spread is really irrelevant, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen through vaccinations or through masks. What we really need to do
Jen, can you wrap it up, please?
just one more
Thank
thing.
Okay.
Is we need to supply our hospitals and our healthcare facilities with staffing, with treatment, with proper PPE, so that we can treat these patients that are coming in, regardless if it's COVID or other illness or any other heart problem or whatever it may be. But that's what we need to do with our hospitals, is make sure that they're supported, our healthcare workers are supported. And that's what is most important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike G.
Yep, I'm here.
Floor is yours.
Hi, Mike Graybeck, Baseline Road resident. I'm fully in favor of this resolution. I kept listening to everybody talk, and I'm very concerned because we've had doctors, it sounds like, and psychologists on this, and they are saying they are very misinformed. And I don't know how they can say masks. Let me start here. So 80-something% of Grand Island is vaccinated, and over 25-30% have already had COVID. I mean, that's well over 100%. If herd immunity is a thing, we shouldn't have to worry about it. I myself, when these
This is blatant misinformation. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, we really can't do that during our meetings. That's not part of our protocol. Please don't interrupt again, or we'll have to remove you. It's not acceptable.
I myself and many other people I know, when these mandates were put in place, I know I went right over to Niagara County and was like, well, they're not doing it. I don't know there are many, many states that aren't doing mask mandates, and their numbers are no different than what we see here. This is an airborne virus, and that's what happens. You come inside, you start to, just like the flu, any other respiratory virus, the numbers go up when you get cold and you start going inside. Just like, you know, in the summertime, everybody goes outside, those numbers go down. That's just what happens with an airborne virus. Masks, I mean, I don't know if the same CDC, they have a whole thing on their website on how small this virus is and how these masks don't stop it at all. I mean, you can say it might help a little bit, but that'd be the same thing as standing in front of the screen door and me spraying you with the hose. You're still going to get soaked. Maybe it stops you a little bit, but they're not doing anything. Same thing a bunch of people talked about with the kids in school. It is drastically hurting the kids. They all they do is, it's either they don't want to take it off because they don't want to hurt or infect, or they're scared of doing something. And the social, the emotional, the hearing, the language, everything's meeting. So please, I beg you to just pass this resolution. And I think that's all. I can go on, but that's enough. But please keep doing. When the supervisor put that message out, it made me feel good that somebody's starting to realize that this stuff isn't going away. And I mean, this has been 2 years. We're in the endemic stage. It's not a pandemic anymore. It's just going to have to learn to deal with it and go about our business. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Jen Pusatier.
Hello, Jen Pustier, East River Road. I haven't prepared a statement for anything to say on this. I had other things, but I have to say, I cannot believe in the climate that we are in, that we had a councilman publicly say that vaccines are not working and basically not legitimate in helping the public. That's outrageous. I live in a home and first of all, I live in a home with a medical doctor that works for one of the biggest groups in Western New York. We're the first phone call to many of families that are sick and don't know what to do in their next turn. And I also have a daughter who right now is working her second shift at St. Mary's Hospital on the COVID floor, trying to keep those people alive. My frustration is that whether I agree with what's going on or not, I don't understand how the town board, where they've received their medical advice and guidance from, or their credentials in order to make this call. This is, to me, a political movement. We could be doing better as a community, helping our community and working in other ways. This is ridiculous. You know, there's the greatest generation, and there's a reason why they're the greatest generation. 2 years was nothing when that happened. They did whatever they could for their community, small and big. And I try to do everything I can for this community, but this is just beyond. It's been very difficult in my family, and I have not talked about any of the stuff that's gone publicly in all the platforms that I'm involved in the town and what's happening in my home and my own health issues. I try not to live in fear, but I cannot believe that my town board is making medical advice to the public. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Anyone else?
That's the end of my list.
Got it. Okay, we'll close the public comment period and get into the public hearing for local law number 9 of 2019, the tree ordinance. Can the clerk give us the pertinence?
Notice is hereby given that the town board will hold a public hearing on December 6th for the purposes of considering and possibly adopting a local law to amend the town code to add chapter 181 to establish the policy and procedure for the preservation of trees on Grand Island at the time and place stated above. All interested members of the public shall be heard.
Anybody that'd like to speak, please come forward, give us your name, and please keep it to 2-3 minutes, please, if you could.
Jim Mulcahy, West River. This ordinance is a mistake. The number of trees on a property, the right number, is a subjective valuation. Now, I've heard that the people don't want these developers doing all these awful things. But, you know, I always get amused by that. Developers, these people would say, are greedy, profit maximizing capitalists. I hope so. But they are not going to go out and waste a dime incurring costs unnecessarily. They will not do something that will reduce the value of their asset. They're not going to cut down trees wantonly. I mean, people that think they're doing it wantonly are people that have a better vision for that property. Well, if you have a better vision for that property, buy it. If it isn't yours, mind your own business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Martha Ludwig. At this time, I'm here representing the Economic Development Advisory Board. We sent a communication representing our board's perspective on this and to the town supervisor, and just wanted to share it in a public way as well. First, we recognize the value of establishing a standard for dealing with the retaining of trees on Grand Island and develop a procedure for allowing new projects to go forward on commercial lands that follows that standard. It is not good for the town for projects to clear cut properties prior to discussions of site plans with the town boards, especially the planning board. We feel, however, that establishing a new advisory board with its sole purpose to deal with trees on Grand Island is totally unnecessary. Doing so will add more bureaucracy to the procedures that a developer needs to follow and would add time and money to their projects. We suggest that the new statute establish the clear-cut rules, give the Conservation Board the authority to establish a listing of desirable and undesirable trees, and make sure that preservation of trees be a criteria that the Planning Board takes into account when reviewing a site plan with the developer, and maybe even negotiated by those parties to gain Planning Board approval. We also highly recommend that the Planning Board, EDAB, Parks and Recreation Board, the Long Range Planning Committee, and the Architectural Review Board all be required to provide feedback on the final law. Thank you for listening to our perspective.
Thank you, Martha. We added that to the record.
Good evening, Jeff Green, Chair of the Conservation Advisory Board. My 6 years on the Conservation Advisory Board, this is my third time speaking at a public hearing for a tree ordinance. As a representative of the Conservation Advisory Board, we love the idea of having some form of transparency before our forests are removed. Grand Island has made huge steps economically. We have some of the best trails in New York State, most scenic views in New York State, and we're really gravitating towards ecotourism. So it makes sense to have something in place that would protect our natural assets, such as the trees. I fully support the tree ordinance as it's written. I want everybody to know that this only affects large swaths of land left for housing developments. And I want you to know that there's not too many large swaths of land on Grand Island left to develop. The old way of engineering and doing things would be to clear cut and then build a housing development from scratch, kind of like an artist with a blank canvas. Now we're in a time where we use recycled canvases. We paint over the old. And so people are going to move to Grand Island. They are going to buy real estate on Grand Island once you develop it. The cost of keeping the trees is inconsequential. And I hope that all of you, first of all, I hope it goes to a vote because it's never been voted on before. And I hope all of you support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Going once, going twice.
I've got people
We
online.
just
Okay.
online.
We'll go online then.
Ms. Rahal,
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
we can.
Hi, my name is Kathy Rahill. First of all, I wanted to applaud the efforts of Councilman Madigan to bring forth this tree ordinance. Something has been in the works about a tree ordinance for over a decade. I'm sure even close to 2 decades here. I think all of us who observed, including the comments from the town board, observed what happened at South Point, would agree that something is necessary to provide guidelines for removal of trees. And first and foremost, I would encourage the board to adopt a provision in this ordinance that would say that no tree removal should be permitted until after site plans are approved by town officials. This would have prevented the clear cutting of trees at South Point for all phases of that development prior to the site or subdivision plans being approved by the town. This is not to say trees cannot be removed. It's to say that a careful review of said removal should be done prior to plans, any removal prior to plans being approved and reviewed is just not in the best interest of the community. I also believe that the fine listed of no more than $250 is kind of a farce. I think the town board should look at some other alternatives, maybe in addition to, and including the withholding of approval for site or subdivision plans until a reasonable remedy is approved by the town board, if in fact the developer goes ahead as they did in South Point and removed all the trees prior to that approval being granted. I also would encourage you to take a look at the definition of a tree. I've done some research in terms of other communities and the measurement of trees. This ordinance suggests that only trees with a 6-inch diameter, which is not the way most ordinances measure trees. It's by the girth or circumference. And a 6-inch diameter tree would be about 19 inches in circumference. That is a very large tree. And I believe that looking at trees more in the 12 to 13 inches in girth would capture the majority of trees that we would want to save here on Grand Island. So I encourage the board to go ahead and approve this ordinance with some of the modifications that we've listed and submitted to the board. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Nicole and Dave.
Hi there, can you hear me? It's Nicole.
Yep,
we can.
Go ahead, Nicole.
All right, thank you. Nicole Gerber speaking. First, I have to say I agree with everything that Kathy Rahill just commented on regarding the tree ordinance. And I commend the town board for creating such a tree ordinance. It is a good start, but enhancements are still needed to actually protect the trees and to prevent clear cutting. Grand Island actually has some of the largest forested lands that are left in the Niagara watershed, and we should be proud of those and realize that these forests and ecosystems that are across the island are connected. They actually are on residential and business zone lands, and they're not defined by property lines. So protecting trees on the island will help protect our unique natural resources, and this ordinance is one that should be made stronger and should be enacted to really have a positive effect on the environment and our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole.
And Mr. Riley, you can hop right on in.
Great, thank you. I just want to echo what both Ms. Rahill and Dr. Gerber just said. The Grand Island community very clearly cares about green space and environment. We've seen that in the comprehensive planning process. We've seen it in surveys that have been done on the island. I think what is entirely consistent with that is a tree ordinance. And so I support this. I hope that it will be treated as a living document because it certainly is not a perfect document. There are many things that could change in that, not the least of which are the penalties for violation, which are so small that they're insignificant, with the idea that there isn't some protection against clear cutting prior to site approval and other things like that. But on balance, I think it is a very important first step that we put a tree ordinance on the books and then work to improve that over time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Pratt, did you want to speak on this one as well? All right, well, we'll move on to Jen Pusatier. It's yours, and Dr. Pratt, if you want to speak. I don't think he's gone, so I guess not.
Okay, Jen Pusatier, East River. All set, Tom?
Yes, all set, Jen. Thank you.
Okay. My comments tonight probably will not be favorable, but I would rather have laws on the books that are enforceable and fully vetted. Vetted means working from the beginning to the end and not deciding along the way or after the fact. I've been following this and working on this ordinance with other boards for a few years, and I'm not making the statement on behalf of anyone but myself. I do have my opinions, but besides that, I feel that there are so many unanswered questions. This newest draft has not been discussed publicly yet. It was supposed to go back to legal. It has been reworded yet again and only posted in the newest agenda packet. I'd like to know where this version came from and if it was been approved by legal. I submitted a letter or an email to all of you. I'm going to try to go quickly or condense this. But some of my concerns are that my understanding is that building, zoning, highway, or engineering will not be walking the properties with the permit review. So my concern is that multi-million-dollar investments are being held up with a resident tree board. What will make all this tree board that qualified? And who will be doing a full inventory on 1+ acres to know what's on those commercial properties for the 5-year look back? Do we have the internal women or manpower to enforce this law if it's under contention during the building process or in a complaint? What is the tree preservation plan? It's 181-3. It seems to be up to interpretation after the law is passed. But isn't this the point of the law? These guidelines could be altered continuously and be not a one-size-fits-all through the years. My biggest concern of all this is commercial property. All this commercial property is approved and has an oversight with planning, zoning, building, engineer, design standards, New York State regulations, DEC, and etc. Now, why are we adding an extra permitting step? Is it to soften the blow of trees going down? With a 5-year look back, so it's a 5-year look back. So any individual or company that owns property before this law is now implemented into this law. And they need to know the number of trees, their species, their health, and then make up the number of tree replacement and mitigation plan somewhere, whether it could be on the island or off the island, multiple acres. We haven't decided that. We have no idea what the tree replacement requirements will be. Do different zones look differently? Is this difference for a business, commercial, industrial districts versus residential? The code enforcement is 350, 700, and 1,000. And it seems like pennies to not go through hoops listed above to a developer. But it could be an extreme amount of planning to a residential homeowner that wants to build a new home on an acre plus of land and develop it. To me, the business plan we are setting up is that now Grand Island developers will include this into what they need to do. They will pay the $350, walk away from the tree inventory list, disagreements with environmental activists, and appoint it to anti-development tree boards and avoid town board bias and a tree replacement plan. It seems easier and a better strategy. And I don't think this is the way we should go. So I just want to go through, let's recall 10 or 20 years of contention because of this continues to come up as a law that is over restrictive, has no teeth or no end plan. Every town board, every planning board, and every advisory board has unanimously turned down this version and other versions besides this new one. But a few conservation advisory board members. That doesn't mean these boards are against this. They're trying to pass this for the Tree USA. Well, Tree USA requires a tree care plan, not a law and an ordinance that's this tight. We are missing grant money, but it's because we're making that tree designation too difficult. I do believe the Conservation Board would be great in this when it comes to, we need to have a tree care plan. And I am completely on board with wholeheartedly with green space and tree preservation, but I just
Um,
do believe this is the way to do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
In ending, this will not stop clear cutting. And Mr. Madigan has stated this multiple times when going over this, and will only require a permit to slow down or to do a project. This is not my quote. This law to me right now saves no trees, and I hope we can work on something better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Michael Rahal.
Good evening. My name is Michael Rahill, and I would like to talk about the tree ordinance. And since I think we're all visual people, I'm just going to hold up an example to illustrate what clear cutting looks like. In this case, it was for the South Point development. This is why we're here. This is why we're talking about this. This is why we're trying to approve the tree ordinance. There are many reasons why people are proud to call Grand Island home. One of the biggest is the unique island way of life that affords residents and visitors the privilege of having such close proximity to a singular and naturally rich landscape that is absent in many surrounding suburbs of Buffalo. Our island is a Ramsar designated site of international importance as a site for migratory birds on par with the Galapagos Islands and its significance for rare tortoises. Generations have enjoyed the woodlands of the island. I have had many walks in the woodlands of Grand Island with my grandfather, Dr. Edward A. Rahill. He taught me about the importance of custodianship, which means if a business wants to come to Grand Island, they should invest in the community and the long-term health of Grand Island. They should be proactively demonstrating how their proposals fit within our town's comprehensive plan and community character. Passing this measure will help developers with that goal to integrate in a responsible way. You as a governing body are uniquely positioned to shape what landscape future generations will inherit or possibly be dispossessed of, depending on when and how you implement the long overdue passage of a tree ordinance for Grand Island. Almost 2 centuries ago, narrow business interests robbed Grand Island of almost all of its white oak in a lopsided deal that benefited merchants in Boston and plantation owners in the Caribbean, but cleaved away swaths of old growth forests in its destructive wake. The character of Grand Island as we know it cannot exist in the future without enforceable measures like the tree ordinance. If South Point taught us nothing, it's that you should never allow tree removal until detailed site plans are reviewed by town officials and residents and subsequently approved. Speaking further to the enforceability of the tree ordinance, you will dilute your own powers of oversight and that of the conservation advisory boards should you proceed with the redundant and superfluous creation of a tree advisory board. I strongly urge you to hew to your common sense principles of governmental moderation, which you all have professed as part of your platforms, and not allow the creation of such an unnecessary departmental appendage. In 181-4, paragraph D, the wording should specify exactly what is required on a permit application, including a complete tree inventory of the proposed area affected. Section 181-11, rendering a $250 fine as a slap on the wrist, will not act as a deterrent for bad behavior. If anything, it will embolden developers to act contrary to the intent of the tree ordinance, which will undermine the entire point of these efforts. Please be mindful of these stipulations as they are integral to ensuring the continuation of our collective community character. The devil is in the details, and if those details are too vague, it will create loopholes in the tree ordinance that I don't think anyone who values the natural beauty of Grand Island will welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rahill. And Kristen Cassio, please.
Thank you, Kristen Cassio, East River Road. I am on the Economic Development Advisory Board, but I'm just giving this comment as an individual. I am just listening to all of the comments. I echo a lot of what has been said here. I am absolutely all for preserving our natural resources on the island. If you look in our comprehensive plan or ask most people on the island, our natural resources are our most valued asset. It was already mentioned here that we're a Ramsar designated site. It's a wetland of international importance. We're on a migratory bird route. If we cut down all the trees, it's going to have international effects. But I also want to say that it is not good policy to pass a law that is not ready to be passed. So I just caution against people who are saying pass it now and fix it later. Once it is passed, there is no obligation to fix it later, no matter what lip service is paid to that. A law should be passed when it is ready to be passed. And I think people here tonight have brought up a lot of valid points of things in this ordinance that need a closer look. And there is no reason why these changes cannot be made to make it as good and strong a law as it can be, and then put it up for passage. Please correct me if I am wrong on this, but to my knowledge, no advisory board has even put this version of the ordinance to a vote, nor has it been submitted to any of the other advisory boards for their comment. So I would just ask that the town board not put forth an ordinance until it's ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we've got.
Is that all we got? Last call? Okay, I'd like to declare the public hearing closed. Town board, what's your pleasure?
For this, the first thing I would like to do is make a motion to designate the town of Grand Island as the lead agency for the seeker, the environmental assessment process.
Should make a motion.
I just did.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
No, do you want to do it? Do it, read it or?
Do it either way. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, it's carried. What's that? No, they're just else. Okay, something else, Mike?
And I think we're going to be discussing it further.
Yes.
So you want to make a motion and refer it back to the board?
Are you leaving the public hearing open?
No, we closed the public hearing.
Right.
Then you don't have to refer.
I don't think it stays open naturally, or it doesn't stay on the agenda, I don't think, right? So I don't think I
You
have
don't
to.
need to refer back.
Yeah, I don't have to.
Okay,
I think it just falls off the agenda at this
Okay.
point.
so we're done.
Yep.
Okay. Next is to approve the minutes of workshop meeting number 44 from November 15th, 2021, and the minutes of regular meeting number 21, November 15th, 2021.
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye. The next. You all set?
Yeah.
Okay, next is the constant agenda. Approve the Golden Age Center facility usage for October 21 and the meeting minutes for the Board of Architectural Review, October 19, 2021 and October 21st, 2021. And the report of the building permits issued for November 2021.
So moved.
Motion, anyone second?
Second.
Second. Discussion? Roll call?
Bainey,
Aye.
Madigan.
Aye.
DeGotti,
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Communications from Supervisor Whitney, who is not here. Let me get to that stuff here real quick. Okay, so we have a retirement notice from Mike Brown from our water department. Hello all, I'm writing this email to inform you of my retirement from the town of on November 30th, 2021. This will be my first day of retirement. In my 28 years of service to the town, I am pleased to have helped the town with greatly improving the wastewater system through modifications and upgrades, which greatly benefited the residents of Grand Island. Thank you, Michael Brown. So motion to accept his recommendation with a certificate of appreciation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Madigan,
Aye.
DeGotti.
Aye.
Bainey,
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. I gotta find the next one now.
I think the next
I
one's
got it.
Tedesco.
Yep, I got it. The next one is a resignation from a senior account clerk, Gina Tedesco. I have attached my letter of resignation for the position of senior account clerk. My last day of work will be 11/24/21. It was a difficult decision to make, but it's the right decision for me. moving on to a great opportunity. The town has been a great stepping stone in my career. Motion to accept her resignation with a letter of appreciation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Bainey,
Aye.
DeGati,
Aye.
Madigan.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye.
Last one, I'm getting there. The last one is a letter of resignation from Officer Joseph Scarpina.
Scarpina.
Yeah, Scarpina, yes, from the Grand Island Police Department. I'd like to authorize we accept his resignation with a letter of commemoration, whatever.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Appreciative for what he did at the work at the town, but also significantly in the school district.
Okay, roll call.
Madigan,
Aye.
Bainey,
Aye.
DeGati,
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Next is to approve the monthly supervisors report from September 2021 and October 2021. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So
Or accept
moved.
that?
Second. I don't know if we need to.
Actually, I
Yeah, I don't
normally
think we-
John doesn't have to say it, but I do because I'm not John.
Got it.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
so that's where it's different. Yeah, I know it felt a little weird there myself.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Madigan,
Aye.
Bainey.
Aye.
DeGati.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Okay. Next up, item number 9, Councilman Michael E. Madigan.
Hey, this is a resolution addressing Erie County and New York State's COVID-19 emergency response. Whereas the town board, so it's a resolution, whereas the town board of the town of Grand Island, New York, the town board, parentheses, recognizes that the COVID-19 pandemic virus has become a widespread global endemic disease that will likely never be eradicated due to its mutations, and that managing it by declaring a state of emergency and declaring mandates every time a new variant and/or spike in cases arises must not continue due to negative impacts on mental health or on mental and societal health, residents' rights and freedoms, and negative impacts on businesses and schools' ability to cope with and manage through what will likely be irregular occurrences in the coming months and years. And whereas the town board recognizes that the virus will continue to be part of our everyday life and must no longer be used to infringe on individual and business owner rights and freedoms as a result of declaring a state of emergency, vaccine mandates, mask mandates, and lockdowns. Whereas the town board recognizes that actions associated with vaccine mandates in the healthcare field has resulted in decreased capacity due to job terminations and severely limits the ability to hire and fill positions due to unvaccinated hiring restrictions, increasing rather than mitigating the virus's risk to our community. And whereas the town board recognizes that long-term management plan is required to manage the COVID-19 virus and that Erie County and New York State should be proactively addressing hospital capacity issues that impact the health and well-being of our residents by suspending certain procedures. And whereas the town board questions why Erie County is one of the only counties in New York that renewed every 30 days the COVID-19 state of emergency since March 15, 2020. It is our belief that further extensions are not justified. And whereas the town board supports proposed legislation in the New York State Senate that would require approval by town, village, and city governing boards, any county executive or county health board's extension of a state of emergency beyond 30 days within their town, village, or city. And whereas the town board recognizes that the COVID-19 virus has become a long-term, widespread global endemic disease and requests that our town residents, businesses, and schools have the right to determine for themselves their unique requirements for mitigating risks, and the town board respectfully requests that Erie County not enter the town of Grand Island for the purpose of enforcement of their COVID mandates or associated restrictions. And whereas the town board supports similar concerns from other town and village leaders, such as those serving in Williamsville, Marilla, and West Seneca, whom are also respectfully requesting Erie County refrain from entering their towns for the purpose of enforcement of COVID mandates and or associated restrictions. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board goes on record opposing any further Erie County vaccine mandates, mask mandates, and other COVID-19 restrictions, and the town board opposes their associated enforcement by outside agencies within the town of Grand Island. And be it further resolved that the town of Grand Island Town Clerk shall forward certified copies of this resolution to the governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul, Senator Sean Ryan, Assemblyman Angelo Morinello, County Executive Mark Poloncarz, the clerk of the Erie County Legislature for distribution, legislator Kevin R. Hardwick, and others as deemed necessary and proper. That's my motion.
Second, for discussion.
Discussion.
I can go first. Of the 4 phases we speak during phase 1 that Mark Poloncarz has laid out, because of phases 2, 3, and 4, if you watched the workshop, you would see that this is the last time we will meet before the December 13th date, where Mark Poloncarz could begin to allow institutions or require institutions to take in what some of us view as discriminate, allowing people with the vaccination up to date allowed in while others would not be. So this is our chance to speak. It's interesting as we're asked to respect the professionals when our 7 other neighboring counties with, I'm surely credible doctors, physicians, authorities as well, are not taking any action. Why would we align with the one that we live in when the 7 are choosing a totally different route? Could it be that maybe this one is misguided when the 7 neighboring have arrived at a different place? We have spent close to 2 years listening to feedback. We have very different jobs. Everyone spoke so articulately on that, and we will arrive at different places. But our job as elected officials, day in and day out during this pandemic, has been listening to you, those who spoke tonight and those who spoke during the last 2 years. And on Grand Island, it is abundantly clear that this is not acceptable. Those views that are widely represented and held by those who elected us are that this is not okay. This is not what's wanted. In terms of the insinuation that the school district would somehow lose a program as if we would be punished for standing up for what the views are within our community, that insinuates, games and vindictiveness that I do not think our county is involved in, even though I think they're misguided on that. So to introduce that to the equation seems very short-sighted to me. But I know many people in this room and online will disagree with this. When we took these positions, we were elected to represent those who were loud, those who were quiet. And I will not hold back from the fact to let you know that the majority of people from all different parties, from all different walks of life, with all different vaccination status said, this is not okay anymore. Please stand up for us. I will not waver on that, no matter what any other gentleman in this room does. It's unwavering, steadfast, firm on this.
Thanks, Jen. I'd just like to address what I've heard in the media just in the last couple of days. One of those things is kind of a spin, in my opinion, that this is about a mask mandate. This is not about a mask mandate. That oversimplifies it. It is about a mask mandate that was rolled out with the threat, if we don't comply, if the numbers don't come down, that additional mandates will almost immediately follow. December 13th is the decision date and or prior to that, where vaccine mandates for all employers is being suggested, where shutdowns are being suggested. They're suggesting shutting down schools again. There's serious discussions about that. The destruction that's already occurred when you look at the numbers and just look at private schools and public schools. Private schools stayed open. Those kids had uninterrupted education while public schools had disrupted with no measurable net benefit from closing down the public schools. The reason why we started this process a couple of weeks ago, because we were actually in discussions before John put his resolution out, is we had businesses calling us literally scared to death that they were going to be shut down again. And they were telling us, begging us to take some action to put a voice to their concerns because they will not survive this. We had parents saying the same thing. They're seeing mental and other concerns with their children associated with the continued, there is fear mongering that's occurring. There's threats and there's other things that are happening that are blowing this thing out. It's a serious situation, but there's a point where we have to accept and not continue to deny that there's certain things that, you know, people should have the right to take action for themselves and for their business and for their schools. It should not be dictated. There's a point where an emergency is no longer an emergency. Jen mentioned 63 counties in New York State. Only one has maintained a state of emergency for 21 months. Only one just announced a mask mandate. Out of the 8 regional counties, only one of those 8 has announced a mask mandate. Even Monroe County with a Democrat executive said that they did not support going forward with a mask mandate because they felt that it was not going to be well supported with by their constituency. So the other 7, according to Buffalo News, that's what I'm going by last Friday, the other 7 counties have rejected going forward with the mandates that Mark Poloncarz is suggesting at this point. And this is not an attack or a political situation. This is about life. There's a point where you can't continue to deny the fact that this thing exists. It does exist, but you can't continue to infringe on people. We're talking, there's suicides, there's drug overdoses, there's alcoholism, there's mental disorders, there's healthcare being denied because we haven't put a plan in place to adjust. We're 21 months into this. We're laying off healthcare workers, impacting our capacity. Who does that in the middle because of vaccine mandates? Who does that in the middle of a pandemic? Who does that? That doesn't make sense. That's not mitigating risk. That's increasing risk. That's my opinion. I am convinced that those heroes for the prior 18 months before they just got laid off, who were saving lives, are suddenly out, their careers are being damaged and or destroyed. Why are we doing that? And we've reduced our capacity at the hospitals. Why are we doing that? It's illogical. We need a plan. The plan needs to have the capacity for the surges long-term. We need to design our system to accept the fact, the new reality, the new normal is this thing exists and it's going to continue to exist. And we can't continue to disrupt lives, ruin careers, and force mandates on folks. People should have self-determination and be able to make their own decisions. This is America. We should be free. Thank you very much. It's not a mask. It's not anti-mask either. I wore a mask coming in here. So.
Well, I guess.
But it's a choice.
I'll go next. I don't know how many of you would have seen the workshop, but we refined this a little bit. We took some things out, and I come at this from a little differently. And I'm by no means anti-mask. I'm by no means anti-vaccine. My issue is with this plan. First and foremost, let's go back to when Cuomo was governor. Even he recognized that approaching this on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis was going to be ineffective. Here, we have the same thing. We have Erie County, one county, trying to enforce that. And here on Grand Island, more than anywhere, we can shoot over the bridge and be somewhere else. Having a mask mandate that's applicable only here isn't going to help. And especially now, anybody who's followed the numbers now and followed the numbers back when it started, Erie County was ahead of the curve. Our rates were higher. There was something different in Erie County than there was everywhere else. That's not the case anymore. Niagara County's positivity rate, last time I checked, was higher than ours. All the surrounding counties are dealing with the same problem, but we're the only one that's approaching it this way. So my issue is, at this point, whether I support masks or not, approaching it in this manner is going to be completely ineffective to reach the goal. More importantly, stepping back to what Mike iterated, this isn't how government is meant to function under any circumstances. To have our county be the only county that's held on to this state of emergency for the entire duration of this pandemic is incredible. One person should not have the power to run a government like that. If Mark Poloncarz is that convinced that this is this serious of a problem, he should have no reservations about taking the issue to the legislature, knowing that he'll get their support. Even the state, and in Poloncarz's issue was, well, we did this because we wanted to be able to address vaccine and testing protocols quickly. The state didn't have to do that. The state terminated their state of emergency back in June. And yet here we are with one person calling the shots and all the surrounding counties approaching this differently. So I'm not opposed to or supportive of, at this point, more broad mass mandates, but having it right now, something that's only in Erie County, is just not going to work. And that's my biggest issue with trying to enforce it here. Is it's an unwinnable proposition as presented. So I cannot get my support behind it. Anybody who wants to wear a mask, please wear a mask. Get your vaccines. Do what you need to do to keep yourself safe. But trying to do this by just looking at Erie County, and every time you watch a Mark Poloncarz press conference, he acknowledges the fact that Erie County, we are the hub of Western New York. We're the ones with the best hospitals. We're the ones where people go. And it just reiterates the point that attacking this by enforcing something like this solely in Erie County is just not the way to do it. So I'm not saying there's not a problem. We need to work towards a solution, but trying to solve the problem by implementing a policy like this only in the county of Erie, it's misguided.
Well, it's pretty hard to follow Tom because there's not much air left in the room, but I'll give it a go. So I generally agree with many of the comments made by my fellow board members. We did spend a little more time than a couple minutes on this in the workshop because we were really trying to articulate everybody's comfort on a position they could support. I said it to the board and I'll say it to you and I'll say it to anybody who'll ask me. You ask 100 people how they feel this should be handled, you will get 100 answers. Everybody has a particular way they think it should be done and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. To me, it's more about your personal choice to do what you feel is best for you and your family and for you and your business. So that's all I got. Roll call.
Madigan.
Aye.
Bailey. Aye. DeGotti.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. At this time, if anybody's here for this particular instance or for this particular subject or perhaps a tree ordinance and they want to go, they're welcome to go.
Councilman Marston, what time do you want to let the students sign?
Yeah, they need to probably go home soon, don't they?
Could we take a quick signature for them?
I have no problem with that. If we want to take a 10-minute recess and
I thought we were going to be done in less than 5 minutes.
yeah,
Well, unless the public comments at the end.
yeah, we got public cameras.
Let's just get them
go.
up signing.
Take a 10-minute recess.
Students, we can sign for you up here,
Yep.
then we can get back to our meeting. Come to any of us and we'll get your
Yeah,
signature.
absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Get all signed.
Good night.
Welcome.
Sure.
Good job. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. Yep.
Good night.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Hey, sorry, Mr. There.
It's gonna be long. Does it take long?
No.
Okay, we're not done that meeting. yet.
Yes, we're just gonna ask this because we've got to get it.
You said
together.
10 minutes, I think. So
We have to finish our meeting, guys. We're in the middle of a meeting.
I know they're trying to make this.
were you gonna wait 10 minutes or not?
No.
Oh, I thought you said 10 minutes.
No, we signed the students. We got to finish our meeting.
Oh,
We're
okay,
still-
sorry about
No,
that.
it's not your fault.
We'll hopefully be done very shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll try and move quick.
Just, you can just move it over here. We'll be done. I think we'll be done in 5 minutes.
Depends how much you make me read of each one of these.
Shouldn't take long.
No.
Oh, I thought that's.
Boy, it's like
I thought
last
someone
call.
Said 10 minutes.
We still have a lot of people online though.
Yeah.
Not too many
Okay,
saying for
ready to
comments.
continue?
Yeah.
Okay, item 10, Department of Engineering and Water Resources, Robert H. Westfall. Authorize the supervisor to sign supplemental agreement SA number 1. Grand Island Baseline Road Accessibility Sidewalk. Pertinence on Old Town Board. Please attach to find a copy of the resolution authorizing the agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation for Grand Island Baseline Road Accessible Sidewalk Project that includes the installation of sidewalks on Baseline Road from Webb to Grand Island Boulevard. Supplemental agreement number 1 extends the contract end date to 12/31/23 and authorizes the release of the remaining $310,000 in federal funding for the project. The town share is $65,000, remains the same. We are hereby requesting the town supervisor authorized to sign supplemental agreement SA number 1 to the agreement with New York State Department of Transportation for the above referenced project. I'll take a motion on that.
So moved. Second. Good
Any
luck,
dis-
Betty.
Figure it out.
Any discussion?
No.
Okay, roll call.
DeGotti,
Aye.
Baney,
Aye.
Madigan.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Item number 2, water treatment plant, Clearwell Rehab Project, change order. Number 1, job number M-212-2021. Honorable Town Board, please find the attached change order number 1 for the above referenced project. Change order number 1 is a deduct change. Wow, that's new. Order to remove lawn restoration from the contract. The decision was made not to have the lawn restoration done at this time. Lawn restoration will be done using town forces in the spring. The total change order number 1 is a decrease of $4,000. We recommend that change order number 1 be approved with the decrease of $4,000 to Pinot Construction Company's awarded contract amount.
So moved.
I was gonna tell you could do the honors. Second.
Discussion? Just that this is a first for me. It went
That's a
down.
first for
Yeah,
me,
it's a
too.
first.
A reduction. What
Yes.
is- What does reduction mean?
Roll call.
Madigan,
Aye.
DeGotti.
Aye.
Baney,
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Next, number 3, award bids, water and wastewater chemical bid. Honorable Town Board, bids were open Wednesday, December 1st, 2021 for the purchase of chemicals for municipal water and wastewater treatment facilities. Has it got the thing of who wants to do? We have reviewed the quotations and recommended the town purchase chemicals from the supplier with the lowest price for the desired item. Is it telling us what it is?
It's various.
It's all over the place.
Right.
So did you, in your packet, you'll see the form
Right.
Yes.
where it's different companies for different
As
things?
noted. Yep.
Okay, as noted. I'll take a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
DeGotti,
Aye.
Baney,
Aye.
Madigan.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Next is a request permission to sell equipment in an auction. Honorable Town Board, Engineering Department has asked the Town Board for permission to sell at auction the following town-owned surplus equipment. A 2016 Liberty trailer from wastewater, a 2008 Vector sewer cleaner wastewater from the wastewater department. Sales will be facilitated by the internet-based auction house, Auctions International.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Madigan,
Aye.
Bainey.
Aye.
DeGatti.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Okay, flip the page over. From Judy Topolsky. She would like, the assessor's office requests the reappointment of William Gorak Jr. to a 5-year term beginning October 1st, 2021, ending September 30th, 2026. Additional request to reappoint Deanna Hayek, Lorendi Hayek, to an alternate position term for 1 year, beginning October 1st, 2021, and ending September 30th, 2022. Motion,
So moved.
Second.
any discussion?
No.
Roll call.
Bainey.
Aye.
DeGatti.
Aye.
Madigan.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Okay, the next is also from Judy Topolsky. This is a request made by the Niagara Sailing Club to split Ransom Road property into 2 lots in R1B zoning. Zoning, engineering, and assessors have reviewed and approved the pending proper paperwork filed with Erie County Clerk's office. A motion's in order to accept this. I can give some discussion if we have motions.
So moved.
Second.
Is a discussion. So I reached out to Judy, and this is basically just taking a lot and splitting it into 2. It's creating potentially one new building lot, and there are residential lots. It's not commercial. So asking for $500 in rec fees would be appropriate because we are creating a new lot. So I guess if I could ask somebody to amend their motion, including the $500 in rec fees.
I made the motion, didn't I? I'll amend it to include the rec fees.
Okay, and
So moved.
second,
Yep, second.
any more discussion?
No.
Again, this is a minor subdivision. It's not a major, so it doesn't need to go to planning board or nothing like that. Roll call.
DeGatti.
Aye.
Madigan.
Aye.
Bainey.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. The next is from code enforcement, number 12, special use permit renewal. For, let's see, E2I Ventures LLC, 1725 Grand Island Boulevard, to operate an apartment building with a density of no less than 9 nor no more than 12 units per acre, as per section 407-61A6C of the town code.
So moved. That's just a renewal.
Yep.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Madigan.
Aye.
DeGatti.
Aye.
Bainey.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. The next is a special use permit renewal for Jeff Matthews at 2389 Whitehaven Road to operate a motor vehicle repair shop service in M2 zoning. It's been inspected and the use is unchanged. Motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
DeGatti.
Aye.
Bainey.
Aye.
Madigan.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Next is a special use permit renewal for Red Bush Meadow LLC, 2120 Elvin Road. It's for a dog kennel. Looks like it's been inspected and the use is unchanged. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Madigan.
Aye.
Bainey.
Aye.
DeGatti.
Aye.
Marston.
Aye. Communications General.
Oh, no, it's another special use, the
We missed one?
yep.
Which
Betsy
one?
and David Heiser.
That is the-
that's
that's
under
No, that's-
communications.
That's the
Sorry.
Communications General.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, thanks.
So David and Betsy Heiser, 2685 Love Road, request permission to shoot rifles and pistols, a 6.5 acre property located at 2685 Love Road. The board had some discussion about this. What was your pleasure?
So I think we're gonna make a motion to approve pending code enforcement inspection and approval of a appropriately constructed berm prior to approval.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
I think the end result would have been something you would have liked anyway, but if baking that into it makes you feel better, Mike, I'm all for it.
Tom, you good?
Do we know how tall they anticipate this berm being?
So I do have a picture of it and it seems like it's appropriate. I can't
Well, I
say
guess
for
if we're
sure.
gonna, if we're gonna make a conditional on putting in a berm, we ought to be a little more
Specific on the
concrete
berm.
than a sufficient berm. So what,
Good question.
I mean, do you think some of the sufficiency is gonna come down to approval by the code enforcement officer if they think it's sufficient for this?
I would think that they would be making that judgment and we discussed,
Should it come
I would
back?
actually like to be part of that discussion and actually view it myself before it's approved. So it's going to be subjective no matter what.
right? Peter, thoughts?
It's just looking at, there's a drawing, it's a little bit difficult to read.
I don't-
Here, I got
Yeah,
a
I don't know
picture.
if there's a depiction of the.
Actually,
I don't see a
picture. I do have a picture. Dig it up.
If you
here.
want to get, the picture's probably going to help them if it's got dimensions on it, Mike. I mean, if you want to, you could table it and make it subject to construction of and describe it as depicted on a plan. And you could have them do a site plan for it. Yeah, but I can't tell. That's 4'7", Mike.
I
thought it was 5'1".
I mean, it's basically railroad ties.
Just,
about 5
just
foot
on
tall.
discussion, is code enforcement talked about this, or what's their story with it? Have
I
you-
did not talk to code.
I did not
enforcement.
either,
Yeah.
so.
You
I don't know.
want to keep it on the table?
Yeah,
and
could we,
refer it to
and
code
and maybe
enforcement for
have the
recommendation?
applicant come and, either meet with code enforcement or give us something we can approve that has.
Some
And just so that everyone knows. the-
substance.
I don't think we mentioned the location. It's on Love Road between Baseline and West River. It is on 6.5 acres of land. And it's probably in a location that has a little more appropriateness for this type of a
The
consideration.
berm
Yeah,
works,
I
it's not
don't-
gonna go a foot.
I just want to make sure the
Yeah.
berm's high.
Right.
So,
So what do we want to do?
I mean,
Should we refer this to code
I
enforcement?
mean, if code enforcement's
input?
gonna approve it, they'll kind of help dictate what the requirements are.
If you make it subject.
So I
to
don't-
code enforcement.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to, because it'll be the same answer regardless of whether we
Yes.
wait. So if we're gonna approve it anyways, I think we can approve it, but just make sure that code enforcement sets the requirements up front.
That sounds great. Does it require amended motion
you
at
get
all, or
that?
is the wording pretty?
It's subject. to
It's
approval
still
of
just
enforcement.
code
Could you read it back, or
enforcement.
is that too much to ask?
It's just code
Yeah, you
enforcement.
can,
What he was asking to say?
yeah, approve it pending, subject to the code enforcement inspection and the requirements set up front
why?
for a sufficient berm.
I feel like we're asking for sufficient landscaping, and everybody's gonna have a different
Yeah.
idea what it should be.
Right, that's why I would like
Yeah.
to maybe have that. I mean, I don't know, if you guys are okay deferring to code enforcement, that's fine, but I wouldn't mind having a number come back before us, before we approve it.
How about this? How about Mike take the applicant and meet with code enforcement, and you guys cook the soup and bring it back to us for approval?
That's fine
Yeah,
with me.
I trust your judgment on it.
I do
Well,
too.
are you saying that we wouldn't approve it tonight then?
No, it's a conditional approval.
A
based on
Conditional
that.
approval,
approval.
yeah.
Yeah.
That, I
Contingent
think that would
upon-
make sense. Yep.
Mhm.
Would that work?
Yeah,
Tom, you okay with that?
Yeah.
Somebody second it then.
second.
Okay. Discussion?
I think we just did that.
I think we did. Roll call.
Madigan,
Aye.
Bainey,
Aye.
DeGatti,
All right,
Marston.
Aye. Report from the audit committee.
Make a motion to spend the following amounts from the following accounts: general fund, $154,500, 22 cents; highway fund, $20,794.64; sewer fund, $34,142.89; water fund, $11,290, 6 cents; capital fund, $854,701.35; refuse and garbage fund, $131,151.66; fire, $350,122. Grand total, $1,556,000, $702.82.
that's you.
Oh, yeah.
Second.
Thank you,
just-
Mike.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Bainey,
Aye.
Madigan,
Aye.
DeGatti,
All right,
Marston.
Aye. This comes to the public comment section of our meeting. If anybody would like to make any public comments, whether it's on the agenda or not, you know, are welcome to address and Name, address, and 2 minutes, please.
Dean Maracus, East River Road. I'd like to thank Pete for not telling anybody to shut up, even though they went over their time. You guys passed resolutions for this, for that. If you would pass a resolution to support Divide New York, that would be the umbrella that would prevent you from having to worry about all these other little picayune issues that the state is mandating. That's it.
Thanks, Dean.
Anyone else?
I think we had one online. Sandy, are you still here? And did you want to comment? Is Kevin? I think Kevin.
Anybody else in the audience? Okay, online.
I'm looking for Sandy. She did have her hand up, but I think she may.
Anyone online?
I'll
if
send her a
you wanna
unmute request.
Comment or unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm not getting Sandy.
Anything else? Okay. From the board, Mike.
Go Bills. Haven't looked at the score. Anyone else?
No.
It's not good. I
not good.
don't want to know that.
Okay. Tom?
I've said enough for the night.
John?
I'm good for tonight.
Okay.
Hello.
I'm gonna.
Hello.
Oh, Sandy made it.
We could back up.
Sandy.
Okay.
I'm not a concern.
Sandy may learn how to use this some point in time. Good evening, Sandy Nelson. I have two comments. One, I stand with the board about the mandates of masks. I think we've had enough of that. Everybody should be respectful. If you want to wear it, wear it. Give yourself distance at the stores, wash your hands, and stay out of people's personal space. Thank you. The second thing is the tree ordinance. I believe you've tabled it. I keep going in and out on this. I would also like to make the comment that I feel that you should put in some sort of retainer for these developers, and they should have to put some upfront money before they start clearing land. If they go against their town rules, then they're going to forfeit. Finding them after the fact does no good. It's the old, ask for forgiveness afterward. So those are my two comments, and thank you for all you've done, and I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you. I think I'm just going to give Sandy my public comments and ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
At what time is it exactly?
9:51.
9:51. Who motioned?
Second.
Jen. Mike. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Tonight we will observe a moment of silence in memory of Matthew Moran, Mary Elizabeth Baldwin, Eileen Jansen, Martha Bojarski, Ron Livingston, James Caprio, Gail Giambra, Elizabeth Pasco, Wendy Slow, Mary Lou Mena, and Alan Cowart Sr. Adjourned.